What's up, Vikings Nation? This one is gonna hit hard. There is a very real chance that the Minnesota Vikings are about to move on from one of the biggest names on the roster. A Pro Bowler. A guy making $66 million and a player a lot of fans never imagined wearing another uniform. Yeah, we're talking about one of the best offensive players in the NFL. Today we're breaking down why the Vikings might cut him, what this means for the salary cap, whether our elite player has actually declined, and how this decision could completely reshape the team around JJ McCarthy. But before we get into all that, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us hit our goal of 4,000 subscribers. If you love real Vikings talk from a real fan, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. First things first, the cold, hard reality. Right now, the Vikings are projected to be $46 million over the 2026 salary cap. That's not a small problem, that's a major problem. And when you're that far over the cap, tough decisions are unavoidable, especially after a roster overhaul last offseason that didn't even result in a playoff appearance. One of the biggest numbers on the books? TJ Hockenson carries a $21.3 million cap hit in 2026. That's massive for a tight end, and it's why ESPN's Aaron Schatz has already flagged Hockenson as a potential cap casualty when free agency opens on March 11th. According to Schatz, cutting Hockenson before June 1st saves almost $9 million, cutting him after June 1st saves $16 million. When you're desperate for cap relief, those numbers matter. Has Hockenson really declined? Now here's where the conversation gets interesting. Has TJ Hockenson actually fallen off? Or is this more complicated? Let's rewind. The Vikings traded for Hockenson at the 2022 deadline from the Lions, and he was electric right away. 60 catches, 519 yards in just 10 games with Minnesota. That season, between Detroit and Minnesota, he finished with 86 receptions, 914 yards, 6 touchdowns. Then in 2023, he was even better. 95 receptions, 960 yards, 5 touchdowns in 15 games. That's elite tight end production. But then everything changed. Late in the season, Hockenson tore his ACL and MCL, a brutal injury for any player, especially a tight end who relies on explosion and route sharpness. When he returned mid-season in 2024, he didn't look the same. The burst wasn't quite there. The separation wasn't as clean. Still, and this is important, Pro Football Focus ranked him as the number 8 tight end in the NFL. So no, this isn't a case of a guy suddenly being bad. The QB factor, a huge part of Hockenson's decline, is actually about who's throwing him the football. Earlier in his Vikings career, Hockenson benefited from Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, veteran quarterbacks who understood timing, leverage, and how to use a tight end over the middle. This season, he played with JJ McCarthy, a rookie still learning the speed of the NFL. And let's be honest, a lot of Vikings pass catchers saw their numbers dip this year. That wasn't just Hockenson. So the film tells us this: Hockenson isn't washed, but he's also not playing anywhere near a $21 million cap hit level. And that's the problem, why the contract doesn't work anymore. Hockenson signed that 4-year, $66 million extension in 2023, and the deal was always structured with heavy cap hits in the final years. That gamble made sense at the time. Now, with 2 straight seasons under 500 receiving yards, injury concerns, and a rookie QB window opening, it just doesn't line up anymore. Could the Vikings restructure his deal? Possibly. But from a pure cap management standpoint, a roster cut cleans up the books faster and more efficiently. This isn't emotional, it's math. Other cap moves coming, and Hockenson wouldn't be the only move. The Vikings spent over $300 million in new contracts going all in this past offseason. Now the bill is due. Other possible cap casualties: Javon Hargrave saves $11 million, Jonathan Allen saves $4.2 million. Ryan Kelly, concussion concerns, saves $8.8 million. Aaron Jones, due $14.8 million, could save $8 million, especially with Jordan Mason proving he can be a true bell cow. One move I believe is a must: extending Brian O'Neill. He's a Pro Bowl right tackle with a $23.2 million cap hit, and you don't mess around when protecting your young franchise QB. Plus, don't forget, the Vikings can roll over $22.5 million in cap space from 2025 into 2026. When you combine all of this, Minnesota can not only get under the cap, but still add talent where it matters. So here's my honest take as a Vikings fan. Cutting TJ Hockenson would hurt, emotionally, but from a football and financial standpoint, I get it. This team is clearly shifting into the JJ McCarthy era, and every dollar needs to support that timeline. The question now is simple. Do you move on from a big-name tight end, or try to hold on and risk limiting the rest of the roster? I want to hear from you. Would you cut TJ Hockenson, or do you restructure and keep him? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed the breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to Report Vikings, and help us reach 4,000 subscribers. This is Victor, and as always, Skol. But don't think our video ends here. Now I need you to really lock in for this one, because today we're talking about a name that could absolutely change the future of this franchise overnight. Joe Burrow. Yeah, that Joe Burrow. The Minnesota Vikings have officially been added to the Joe Burrow trade watch list. And whether you think this is crazy, unrealistic, or a total pipe dream, this conversation matters more than you might think. But before we break all of this down, real quick, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us hit our goal of 4,000 subscribers. If you're a true Vikings fan who wants real opinions, real analysis, and no sugarcoating, you're in the right place. Alright, let's talk about it. The JJ McCarthy reality check. Coming into the 2025 season, the plan was clear. The Vikings hoped that JJ McCarthy, in his second year, would take that big leap. The leap from promising to franchise quarterback. And look, I wanted it to work. We all did. But if we're being honest, it didn't happen. Instead of answers, we got more questions. Instead of consistency, we saw ups and downs. Instead of proof, we saw uncertainty. Now, does that mean McCarthy is done? No. Does it mean the Vikings are cutting him tomorrow? Absolutely not. But what it does mean is that Minnesota cannot blindly assume the quarterback position is solved. And in the NFL, if you don't have elite quarterback play, you're not winning Super Bowls. Period. Why Joe Burrow is even a discussion. This is where Joe Burrow enters the chat. According to CBS Sports insider Jonathan Jones, the Vikings are one of several teams to keep an eye on if Burrow were ever made available, along with teams like the Raiders, Jets, Browns, Dolphins, and Rams. Now let me be clear, this is not a report saying the Vikings are actively trying to trade for Burrow. This is about opportunity, and opportunity matters. Burrow has been very open lately about his frustration in Cincinnati. He wants to win, he's tired of getting hit, and he's tired of playing hurt. The Bengals simply haven't done a great job protecting him or building consistently around him, and when a superstar quarterback starts talking like that, you pay attention. The on-field reality, Burrow's talent. Let's talk numbers, because this isn't hype. This is production. In just 6 games this season, Burrow threw for 1,168 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 63.5% completion rate. And for his career, 68.3% completion, 1,069 passing yards, 152 touchdowns, 50 interceptions in 75 games. This dude is elite. Calm in the pocket, accurate, clutch. A proven winner when healthy. Now imagine this. Joe Burrow throwing to Justin Jefferson, former LSU teammates, instant chemistry, instant fireworks. That pairing alone would put Minnesota right into the Super Bowl conversation. Not maybe, not in a few years, immediately. The reality check, is it likely? Now let's bring this back to reality. The most likely outcome, Joe Burrow stays in Cincinnati in 2026. The Bengals would be crazy to trade a quarterback like that instead of fixing the offensive line and going all in around him. It would be shocking. But here's the key point. If Burrow were ever made available, even remotely, the Vikings would be absolutely right to be aggressive. Draft picks, worth it, cap gymnastics, figure it out, short-term pain. You live with it, because quarterbacks like Joe Burrow do not become available often. So Vikings fans, let me ask you this, and I really want your thoughts in the comments. If Joe Burrow somehow hit the trade market, would you go all in, or do you still believe JJ McCarthy deserves more time to prove himself? This offseason is shaping up to be one of the most important we've seen in years. The decisions made now will define this franchise for the next decade. Drop your opinions below. I read every single comment. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and help us hit 4,000 subscribers here on Report Vikings. This is Victor, Skol Nation forever.